there's a ton of really strange, complex, and to be honest, really bad borders in the world, that when looking at them doesn't make much sense. I mean, why is there a country inside of Italy? And why does Spain has territories in Africa? And why is the border between Canada and the United States so straight? I've touched on some of these borders in my previous videos, but I feel that we should explore borders a little bit more. And I found this extremely insane one that might be the world's most complex border, and it's actually found in Europe, between the Netherlands and Belgium. No matter how much you look at this, it doesn't get any clearer. And even now I'm still confused by how it's working. I mean, have you ever heard of a place where the border between two countries run through houses, businesses, and even restaurants? Well, this is exactly the case with the border between Baarle-Nassau in the Netherlands and Baarle-Hertog in Belgium. Instead of a straight border between the two countries as usually is the case, this one zigzags its way through the area, creating little pieces of land called enclaves and counter-enclaves. And to really understand this border, we first need to understand the concept of what an enclave is. So an enclave is a small area of land that is completely surrounded by a larger country. To simplify it even more, imagine this square is your backyard, and you decide to build a treehouse in the corner of the yard. Now, to secure your treehouse, you build a fence around it, so nobody can get in or out without going through your yard. That's kind of like an enclave, where the bigger country is like your yard, and the smaller country is like the treehouse. And the border around the smaller country is like the fence around your treehouse. Now, enclaves can happen for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes it's because of geography. For example, a river might run through one country, but there's a small piece of land on the other side. Other times, enclaves might be because of history or politics, and that's definitely the case with this border, as we will get into in just a bit. So let's take a closer look at how this place is structured. Where northern Belgium and the southern Netherlands meet is where we find the two cities. And if you never paid much attention to this border and how it's structured, most people would say we're inside the Netherlands, as the border most of us have noticed before goes here. Now, zooming in just a bit more, and we're starting to see something else. Right here is where the crazy starts, as Belgium has 22 enclaves within Dutch territory, and the Dutch in turn have 8 counter-enclaves inside that Belgian territory. Now let's break it down even further, by swapping out the colors so we can see these enclaves and counter-enclaves clearer. Okay, so this background color represents the Netherlands, as this whole thing happens on their side of the main border, so to speak. Now let's place a simple map of the roads in this area. And nothing strange so far, right? Just a country with its roads. But now let's add the Belgian enclaves that exist within here. Now looking at the road, you can tell this just got way more complicated, but we're not done. Let's add the rest of the Dutch country that actually exists inside Belgium, that in turn exists inside the Netherlands. Well, that's a counter-enclave for you. And you might think that's complex. Well, listen to this. So every black line you see on this map is a border between the two countries, and every grey line you see is a road. And on these roads there are houses, restaurants and businesses, like most cities. But the enclaves here are so small that here and there are houses that have one half in the Netherlands and the other half in Belgium. So that means your kitchen could be in the Netherlands, but your living room in Belgium. And as you can expect, this has led to some extraordinary things. And just to give you one example, there was once a time where the Dutch law required restaurants in the Netherlands to close early. Well, that law didn't exist in Belgium, since it's a completely different country after all. So for the restaurants who had parts of their place in each country, guests could simply swap the tables to the other side of that restaurant and continue their meal in the country where the restaurant was open. So we stated it's a pretty unique situation, this border mess. But how could this happen? What made it into what we see here today? For that we need to go back in time. But before we do that, I want to thank today's sponsor for making this video possible. As someone who loves to travel and explore new cultures, I get super annoyed when I have to confirm my accounts again and again. Basically, things like my email account gets flagged due to location changes, as it thinks I'm someone else trying to access my stuff. I mean, I get it, but it's still pretty annoying. Fortunately for me, Surfshark VPN has provided me with an easy solution. With just 2 clicks, I can change my virtual location to my home country. Like, really, it's 2 clicks. The interface is super simple and you just press the buttons. Oh, and changing location like that also allows me to watch the entire Netflix library. By connecting to servers in different countries, I can watch any TV show or movie they have. But it's more than just a VPN. They also has these great features that help me monitoring my data and alert for breaches, as well as helping me keep my devices virus-free. Now, if you want to try Surfshark, by using the link in my description, you get an 83% discount and 3 months of free use. That's 3 months of free use. And with a single account, you can protect an unlimited number of devices. So whether you're planning your next trip or simply want a smooth online experience, give Surfshark VPN a try. Now let's get back to the video. And the story of the border between the two countries go back many centuries, all the way to the Middle Ages, where feudalism shaped the political landscape of Europe. Feudalism basically means that the nobility families, which is a family related to the royal family but ranked below the king, got land from the crown in exchange for military service. So the very origin of this border can be traced to two separate events of feudal agreements, made in the 12th and 14th centuries. The first agreement involved the territories of Breda, a Dutch city, and Turnhout, a Belgian city. In the 12th century, these territories were controlled by the Duke of Brabant, named Godfried III, and Lord of Breda, whose name was Dirk VII. They agreed to split the lands based on the local lords who had sworn allegiance to them. So the two traded lands, and the Duke of Brabant got land around Turnhout, while the Lord of Breda got pieces of land around Breda. This deal resulted in the foundation to the puzzle pattern of enclaves and exclaves we see today, as some parts of land remain under control of their original owner. The second agreement that shaped this border is the Belfort Charter of 1312, a document signed by the Duke of Brabant that made this split of lands between the two regions even clearer. The charter explained the rights and benefits for the people living in the two regions, and made their duties as a people under each ruler easy to understand. It also confirmed the complex patchwork of land ownership that was set up by the earlier deal between Godfrey III and Dirk VII. But the Belfort Charter did more than that, as it also created a legal basis for the unique governance structure that persists in the two towns today. This included separate legal systems, ways to pay taxes, and groups to run things. The next major historical event that helped shape this border is the 80 Years' War, where the two territories were stuck in the middle between two fighting groups, and the unique pattern of land created a very special situation, as part of lands were controlled by both the Dutch Republic and the Spanish Crown. This resulted in pockets of land remaining under Spanish control that later was passed to Austrian and Belgian control even after the Dutch Republic achieved independence. In 1648, the Treaty of Westphalia was signed, which ended the 8-Year War and recognized the Dutch Republic as a sovereign state. And it also established the border between the Dutch Republic and the Spanish Netherlands. However, that didn't change the borders much for Baarle, as it remained divided into two parts: Baarle-Nassau, which was part of the Dutch Republic, and Baarle-Hertog, which remained part of the Spanish Netherlands. Following the Belgian Revolution, which led to the establishment of the Kingdom of Belgium as an independent state, the Treaty of Maastricht was signed in 1843. The treaty was signed between the Netherlands and Belgium to clearly mark their common border, and while the treaty resolved many border disputes, the unique situations in Baarle remained a challenge. The treaty confirmed the existence of the enclaves and exclaves in the region, preserving the centuries-old puzzle patterns of land ownership. And in an attempt to clarify the border situation, the treaty outlined specific criteria to determine which part of the land belonged to the Netherlands and which belonged to Belgium. These criteria were based on historical land ownership records and the allegiance of local feudal lords. However, the Treaty of Maastricht did not entirely resolve the complexity surrounding the borders, and some parts of land still remained disputed and questions lingered over the accuracy of the historical records used to determine land ownership. During World War I, even though it didn't have a direct impact on the complex border situation, in terms of altering the borders or resolving disputes, the war did influence the daily lives of the residents in these intertwined towns and really highlighted the importance of cooperation and communication between the two nations that remain to this day. First, Belgium was invaded by Germany, which led to a large number of people seeking safety in the Netherlands, which remained neutral throughout the war. The unique borders in the Baarle area made the movement of refugees easy, but it also helped smugglers as they used the unclear lines and many crossing points to smuggle goods and information between the countries. An event that led to authorities on both sides understanding that they need to communicate and work close together to handle this complex situation. And the war also had indirect consequences on the daily lives of the residents in these towns. As the conflict disrupted trade and communication networks, residents had to adapt and rely more heavily on local resources and support from their neighbors. And during World War II, this cooperation just got stronger, as both countries were invaded by Germany, and the interconnected nature of the two towns of Baarle presented some challenges for German occupying forces, who had to deal with the complexities of running and controlling all these enclaves and exclaves. After the war, going through these tough times together, the Netherlands and Belgium understood that they needed to work better with each other, which in turn led to the signing of the Treaty of Baarle in 1974, which aimed to clarify and formalize the borders and improve cross-border cooperation. And as part of the treaty, the Dutch and Belgian people made a team to look at the border very carefully and find any problems left. They used fancy maps and old stories to know the borders better, and ultimately the Baarle Treaty made the borders between the two towns easier to see and understand. They changed the borders a little and made special rules to help the towns work together, share things and build stuff across the border. But despite all these efforts during history, the complex border situation still remains the fascinating and unique geopolitical curiosity it is. And while they might not come to a solution that involves the straight border we're used to seeing in most places, they definitely learn to live with this. So if you're ever near this place, you have to go see it, as this is just such a fascinating place that reminds us of how history and geopolitics really has helped shape our world.